guys, what's up? It's Thomas. Today, back here at Film Theory. We are here back with another amazing Digital Circus one called Pomni is Destined to Die. I'm guessing it's a self-sacrifice to free the others, but remember, she's only a digital copy from what we could tell. Only still in the pilot episode. So I'm not sure where that's going to be, but, well, we're about to find out more, so let's see where this theory goes. So make sure to like, subscribe for more. Hope you enjoy. Here we go.
Well, hello there. Welcome,
hi,
welcome. Please come in. I know this might not be what you were expecting, but you and I, we're going to go on so many adventures. We're going to have so much forever and ever and ever and ever and ever.
I'm not sure if I want to join your fun, though.
Hello, Internet. Welcome to Film Theory, the show that's here to show you the most jaw-dropping, heart-stopping, mind-bending theories you can imagine. In case you missed our last theory on the amazing Digital Circus, the long and short of it is that we believe that the circus here isn't exactly what it appears to be. Instead of some futuristic, fully immersive experience, we believe that it's actually a VR video game from the 1990s, one that copies the brains of anyone who puts on the headset. It then turns that copy into a digital character to go on adventures
like Pomni, Jack, and the others.
So the people trapped in this world looking for an exit are not actually people, just digital copies of their consciousnesses, their personalities. That's why we repeatedly see workstations with VR headsets in the first episode, but with no one actually wearing the headsets. And our theories didn't stop there. We continued by saying that Pomni is either the creator of the game or an employee at the development studio making the game, as evidenced by our mental breakdown when seeing those work desks. And while this is the direction that I still believe the series is headed for,
Never know. We talk about something else.
you see, there's still a ton to dig into
Whatever,
here with
Kane.
the Digital Circus. Well, sure, those initial theories are the ones that I think are the most likely and the most intentional. It's
Could be.
once to stretch a bit further out that some of the truly fun, wacky ideas really start to develop. Are they right? Yeah, probably not. Are they interesting and fun? Absolutely. And therein lies the beauty of theory crafting. For example, last time I briefly tossed out a bit of wild speculation that the Digital Circus may have itself some biblical connections. In this
the
brief scene
cocaine
exploring
thing.
the back rooms of the company who seemingly created the circus, we see the initials C and A painted
Oh, yeah,
on the
Cain
wall.
and Abel.
C
See?
made me immediately connect things back to our lovable AI ringleader Cain, a guy who's probably the most in control of this entire situation. And if you tend to see the name Cain
How's them
partnered with the
old
initial
sea
A,
guys?
any sort of pop
Keep an eye on
cultural
you.
reference, the first immediate jump is going to be to the biblical story of Cain and Abel. See, Cain and Abel were the children of Adam and Eve, the first humans to ever exist in the Abrahamic religions. At the time, I wasn't really sure if this was meant to be anything or if it was going to lead anywhere, but the more I sat
never
and
know.
thought about it, the more connections that I started to make. Some of those connections were admittedly very dumb. For example, in biblical canon, Cain kills Abel and becomes the first murderer. And what does Cain do multiple times throughout the pilot? He pops bubble for comedic effect. Ow!
You parasites!
Cain kills a bubble, a bull. Coincidence? Absolutely
could.
yes. It is single-handedly one of the dumbest things I've ever said in a theory, and I have said a lot of dumb things in theories. But
And
other
sends his
parallels
nest,
that I
don't forget
found
that.
As I was doing this little brain search through the episode again, were a lot more compelling. In fact, some connections were so large that I believe I may have just cracked the question of what the Digital Circus is wide open. You see, loyal theorists, the amazing Digital Circus isn't just some mere video game that's trapped these consciousnesses. No, it's something much darker. It's an eternity of torment and torture. The amazing Digital Circus is, quite literally, hell. Put on your headsets and get your randomly generated names, my friends. We're going in. So the claim that
Could be. I mean, there was the coins down below in the basement, and I'm not sure about the abstracted, you know? So that could be an interesting one. Like, could abstracted mean they accepted that there was hell? I don't know. Like, I mean, they say it's like they gone like that because they were worried about the exit, but what if it's the opposite? I don't know. I mean, sounds like what's going on. But I think for me, this seems more like a purgatory. I don't know. Like, we don't know much yet because, like I said, it's still a pilot. But could there be a way for them to, like, move on? Like, hell, yeah, you accept too much and down you go. Like with the abstracted. But what if there's another way? You know, up. Makes the question, though. But remember, we're still on the pilot episode, so It's still a toss in the air to see where the story goes, but anyway, let's get back to the theory and see how this is hell.
That the Digital Circus is literally hell, it's a pretty bold one, so why would I possibly make it? Well, look at this. At the very end of the pilot, here we're shown all the human characters sitting at a table while eating food. But you notice anything weird about their dining arrangement? Of all the ways they could have set up this table, they decided to have every character on just one side. All of them facing the same direction, out at us, the audience. When this is done in fiction, it's rarely by mistake, because this right here, this is a very iconic framing device from one of the most famous paintings ever made, The Last Supper by Leonardo da Vinci. This depicts the final meal of Jesus and his followers shared before his crucifixion. It's been the backbone of conspiracy theories and Dan Brown novels for centuries. Works, creator of the series, and all the other creatives over at Glitch, they're smart people. They wouldn't be using this imagery without understanding the historical baggage that comes along with it. And it's not just the table layout that's worth calling out here. Look at Pomni in the center, the exact position that Jesus is in for the painting. And notice the colors of Pomni, red and blue. Wouldn't it be weird if, oh wait, never mind, Jesus is also dressed in
there's little red,
the
there's little
interpretation
blue.
of his colors is that the blue represents the divine half of God, heaven, and his red represents the blood, mankind. So in Jesus, you have the mixing of these two elements, a God born amongst men and set to live as a human, red plus blue. And in Pomni, we actually have something similar, at least if our earlier theories were correct. A creator of this game, a god of this world, if you will, now set to live as a part of their own creation. And it's not like religion is completely absent from this world
basically,
either.
Pomni got sent there to
we know for
free
a
him?
fact that God exists in the circus in some form or another. During the first adventure that Keen sets up for Pomni, the Gloink Queen says this.
Yeah, God. Gloinks. Will be gloinks. Oh, it will be gloinks.
What an oddly specific thing to say. Speaking of making
It's
oddly
true.
specific
Why do you
references
mention
that we
that?
can build off of, let's talk about abstraction. According to the show, when you obsess over being trapped in the circus and drive yourself crazy looking for a way out,
eventually you get to asking what the point of anything is, and you completely lose sight of who you are and why you're even alive, and when you reach your breaking point, something really terrible can happen.
this is known as abstraction. And we see the result of it when we meet Kaufmo the Clown, or at least what's left of him.
Oh, Kaufmo's been abstracted.
Last time, I wasn't really sure if we had enough to really make a judgment over what was happening here, but I did find some more information when digging through the creator Gooseworks' Tumblr. According to her, abstracting isn't just going crazy and becoming a big scary monster. It's definitely part of it for sure, but there is a deeper meaning. According to Gooseworks, when you abstract, you lose everything about yourself. You're stripped of every single scrap of individuality that you become something unrecognizable. All abstracted people look the same. This glitchy four-legged monster covered in eyeballs. And perhaps most importantly, abstraction cannot be undone. Now, looking back over the series with this new lens of religious imagery, the abstracted start resembling something else, something beyond just monsters. They almost look like angels. Well, not really angels, more biblically accurate angels, which ironically enough doesn't really come from the Bible. Let me explain, it's kind of confusing. 20 years ago, a meme started spreading across the internet featuring these monstrous multi-eyed creations. They were called biblically accurate angels. Now, you might look at these things and go, really? They don't exactly look like the traditional image of an angel, with robes and wings and halos and all that. But what they're riffing on here is a very specific part of the Bible. A few chapters in the book of Ezekiel where he describes having visions of winged creatures with 4 faces, some human, some animal, and these creatures were joined by wheels within wheels with eyes. Here's a version of the book. I looked, and I saw beside the cherubim 4 wheels, one beside each of the cherubim. Their entire bodies, including their backs, their hands, and their wings, were completely full of eyes, as were their 4 wheels. Now, for the sake of clarity, the wheels with eyes,
so they technically are
and aren't considered angels, depending on what documents you're using and how you're classifying things. And again, all of this is based on a few very short lines in a very long, very ancient religious tradition, but that's neither here nor there. The point is that these religious entities are always described as having an abnormal number of eyes all over their bodies,
just
like
like
the abstracted that we're seeing in Digital Circus. The weird descriptions even fit with the name abstraction. These so-called biblically accurate angels are weird, almost completely unrecognizable to humans because we can't comprehend what we're witnessing. They're unknowable. In other words,
like the elder
they're
gods.
abstract. Now, while it's never made clear why these biblical creatures would have so many eyes, one persistent idea is that the design represents God's watchful eye over us. They're always watching us because God knows all. He sees all. Look again at the Digital Circus. There's a ton of eyeball imagery here, all throughout this first episode. Eyes are hidden in the intro, they're hidden in paintings, they're hidden in the background. Kane even admits that he wants all the cast to stay in the circus.
Where I can keep my
hundreds of all-seeing eyes on you.
Kane, Destined, an omniscient character who knows everything, a god of sorts. And what's he made of? Basically a mouth and two big ol' eyes. Oh, and looking at Kane's dialogue through this more religious lens makes this line hit a whole lot different.
Good.
Do you like adventure, activity, wonder, danger, horror, pain, suffering, agony, death, disease, death, angel food cake? Ow!
Not only does suffering, agony, and death all sound very hellish, but why angel food cake? Like, why call out that specific type of cake here? Again, we have ourselves a weird connection to angels and religion that comes seemingly out of nowhere. But the most compelling reason for why we can draw parallels between this series and all these religious ideas has to be the way that the creator Gooseworks talks about the Digital Circus.
go ahead.
When asked if anyone in the series would be killed, Gooseworks answered that it depends on your definition of kill, which is likely pointing to the idea of abstraction. But it's interesting that she makes this distinction. It means that none of these characters can die, so to speak. They're trapped in here forever in eternal torment, just like hell. Gooseworks also talks about how characters deserve to be there, specifically calling out Jax as the one who deserves to be there the most. Using the phrase deserves to be there, it shows that the circus is some place of judgment. It's either a reward for those who are good or a punishment for those who are evil. And considering Gooseworks has a lot of negative things to say about Jax, this ain't your reward day at the spa. Time and time again, Gooseworks has gone on the record to say how awful Jax is. According to Gooseworks, Jax is morally the worst character in the show, so much so that
Yet
when
it
asked if
gave
he
him the
was
most
more of a
lovable
jerk or an
voice actor.
anti-hero, she explained that, quote, there's absolutely nothing heroic about Jax. Those are some
Yikes.
pretty strong words for a character that you yourself created. When another fan commented that they hoped Jax was going to get worse, Gooseworks said, you're probably going to enjoy some of the things we have planned. And already the behavior that we've seen from him throughout the series is pretty awful. He's mean, he trips people, he knocks them over, he steps on one of Gangle's masks without Karen. He knows that Ragatha's deepest fear is centipedes, and he uses that information to torture her.
By the way, I may have left something in your room today, so let me know if you find it. You're not afraid of centipedes, are you?
Jax! That's literally my only fear. Why would you do this?
Jax is clearly not a good
He actually
person.
does have
So
that
if
mean
Gooseworks
smile,
is
like-
saying that he deserves to be in the circus more than most, then it clearly implies that we're trapped in hell. But just because they're in hell doesn't necessarily mean it has to be your typical fire and brimstone hell. Case in point, one of the most influential depictions of hell comes from a play by French philosopher
Jean-Paul
Sartre,
Sartre.
known as Huis Clos, or translated into English, No Exit. In it, 3 people condemned to hell are brought into the same room and locked inside. But instead of a torture chamber, they just find a comfortably furnished room. Not exactly what you'd expect, right? But as these 3 start talking and getting to know each other, they realize they don't click. They annoy each other. They push each other's buttons and they twist the knife until one of them realizes this is the torture. A famous line from the play reads, hell is other people. That sounds exactly like what we see here in the
with
Digital
Jax.
Circus. It's 6 people who don't necessarily click with one another. And no matter how polite they are, they all still push each other's buttons. They exploit each other's fears and fake laugh at each other's jokes. But the worst part of all, there's no exit. Trapped in a digital room with no escape. But now to the big question. What's the point? It's all interesting for sure, but why bring up all these
what's with the
parallels?
story?
Well, if we can point to all these religious ideas to show what the Digital Circus is and how they're going to be using it in the story, we can also use them to point to where the story is headed. Specifically, I believe that we can use the religious imagery to get a pretty good idea of what Pomni's story arc is going to be. You see, Pomni is Digital Circus's parallel to Jesus Christ. I know that sounds
aside from
insane.
the red and blue,
Sounds crazy
I
enough
think
for
I
one of
see
those
it,
Matt Pat out of context compilations that I see floating around. But the connections are there when you actually stop and look at them. I mean, think back to what I pointed out earlier about the Last Supper
she's in the
scene.
middle.
Pomni is framed as the one in the center, exactly where Jesus is sitting in the painting. Her color scheme matches Jesus's. His robes are split between 2 colors, red and blue, just like Pomni's jester outfit. Additionally, we have to consider Pomni's hand. About halfway through the episode, when the abstracted Kaufmo attacks Ragatha and makes her glitch, Pomni tries to help her and gets her hand glitched in the process. This plot line is actually left unresolved at the end of the episode, with Kane fixing Ragatha, but not Pomni.
Pomni's
Keeps the
hand.
glitching hand a secret. In Christianity, wounds or scars on your hand like this usually reference a
stigmata.
very specific thing, stigmata. These are representative of the wounds that Jesus got when he was being hammered onto the cross, usually depicted as scars on your hands. Another connection to Pomni. And if our previous theory is correct and Pomni's human persona is an employee of the company behind the Digital Circus, well, she's the developer of this game. That would make her the creator. And just like Jesus is an aspect of God in many sects of Christianity, that would make Pomni an aspect of a god or creator of this world. Heck, her arc...
Oh, I think I get it. Like, okay, hear me out. Pomni, keeping that glitched hand in the back, might be able to use the powers he abstracted. Like, okay, say she's able to control it, right? You know, the point that she control who gets abstracted and, or in a way, glitch out the game. Like, no clipping or, all that. Think about it. Kane, so far, is the only one that's in control. But, with Pomni being a, developer, if the theory's right, and having a little glitch power, and so to speak, it would make sense for her to be able to manipulate the world as she sees fit. Or, in this case, to help her out. Well, that and the others, don't forget that. Though, knowing Jack, he'll probably, tattle on Kane, Kane will try to stop her, and, well, Pomni will probably sacrifice herself to end the game once and for all. Where everyone else gets out, Jack's out. I don't know. Like, remember what Gooseworks said, that things were going to go worse for Jack? Karmic payback? I mean, that's what I'm thinking this could go, but, I mean, if we're going with this storyline, but we'll see. Anyway.
In the very first episode, forgetting who she is so that the information can be dramatically revealed to her later on. It even follows what Jesus went through in biblical texts, beginning life as a human before having to discover for himself that he is in fact the Son of God, discovering his purpose to save humanity from themselves. And this is why I think we have to care about all this, why we started looking at all these religious parallels in the first place. If the Digital Circus is indeed designed to be hell, and everyone here is condemned to be there in some way, and Pomni suddenly comes in as a representative of Jesus, well, she's there to save them, to help the other cast members escape from this torment that they found themselves in Pomni's creation. But in the cruelest twist of fate, saving them is gonna doom Pomni. If I was a betting man, I'd say that Pomni will be the only one left in the Digital Circus after she's helped all the others to escape. Just like Jesus sacrificed himself for humanity, Pomni is gonna do the same thing here. She's gonna get left behind, forever tortured by this wacky AI going on his silly adventures. But it'll have been worth it because she'll manage to save everyone else. But hey, though the cast of the amazing digital...
Yeah, it could be, but I think it could work, but I think looking at it, I think I might more lean towards, Pomni to be able to control the world and, well, shut the game down. Though, if Matt's earlier theory about them being digital constructs begs the question, what happens when they leave? Well, again, we can only guess, so we'll have to wait and see with the rest of the story, when the official thing comes out. Till then, thanks for watching, everybody. Till next time, adios.